I sacrificed my marriage and every penny to give Arthur a life he never asked for. But the day I told him I was retiring, he called me a freeloading burden and told me to get a job scrubbing floors in a retirement home. What he didn't know was that my late employer had left me an $8 million inheritance, and I was about to show him the real cost of ingratitude. The world shattered the moment Arthur's face twisted. I'd just stepped inside, eager to share news I thought would change everything. My employer of nearly 20 years, Ms. Albright, had passed. My work was done. Before I could explain, Arthur's eyes, usually kind, hardened to stone. "Why quit?" He cut in, voice frantic. $8,000 a month. "What now, Mom? Just freeload?" My joy evaporated. Freeload? I'd come home to ease their burdens. His words struck like a cold slap. I swallowed the retort. Arthur felt pressure from Chloe, his wife, and her parents, the university professor and local government bigwig. They constantly belittled our modest background, chipping at his confidence. But I held back the money. Didn't Chloe plan pregnancy? I thought I'd help with the baby. Chloe's expression froze. Then her lips thinned. Postpartum recovery is professional. You were a housekeeper. What would you know? Evelyn, her mother, chimed in, disdain dripping. Newborns are science, Margaret, not amateur work. Rehearsed, seamless condescension. I was useless. A bitter laugh. Nothing changed, still beneath them. I forced a tight smile. If it's all arranged, I won't interfere. Evelyn rolled her eyes. Fine. You'll cover the nanny and baby nurse? I'll hire them. Speechless, a knot tightened. Arthur jumped in. Exactly, Mom. Never quit. Expenses double. Keep working. The truth hit. They didn't want me to rest. They needed my paycheck. I was their walking ATM. My face hardened. I'm 61. Time to retire. Chloe scoffed, a bitter laugh. Pension? What retirement? You have none. Years ago, they urged me to save my pension money for their mortgage. Now she threw that in my face. Pathetic income, Chloe snapped. Who told you to buy a house you couldn't afford? Plan better. Arthur, appeasing Chloe, shouted, Enough, Mom. Chloe's pregnant. You're stressing her. We need money. You're in shape. Work 20 more years, save retirement talk for 80. 20 more years. Sadness hollowed me. Every sacrifice, every dollar. I was just a cash machine. Their respect and gratitude were sugar-coated lies. I'd moved cities, worked live-in, bought this house, deed in their names. They'd cried, promising care. Now, life I deserve meant endless labor until I broke. I choked back tears, voice firm. I'm retiring. Final. No one decides for me. Evelyn, sensing seriousness, softened, but her eyes held a twist. No spare room. Can't stay forever. Compromise. A wealthy family needs a live-in assistant. Good pay. Easy transition. Chloe smirked. Perfect. Your earnings ease our load. Win-win. Evelyn added, Working won't kill you. Do well, you might stay long-term. My face chilled. I quit. Not working in anyone's house again. Evelyn's smile vanished, her voice airy, but pressure-filled. Done with others? Fine. Senior residence nearby. Work-based stay. Kitchen, janitorial. Earn your keep. Chloe rolled her eyes. More reasonable. Pull your own weight. Stop expecting us to carry you. Rage simmered. I held composure. Arthur, you think it's acceptable to send your mother to scrub floors in a retirement facility? His eyes darted. Mum, be realistic. You wanted independence. This is dignified. Support yourself. We owe nothing. He pulled out his phone. Open spot now. I called. Move in today. He dialed. Disbelief washed over me. My child, eager to dump me like dead weight. Hands trembled. Tears streamed. Arthur, I gave everything. Drained savings for your home. Now, I'm a burden? Is this how you repay me? Guilt flickered, then rage surged. He kicked my suitcase. You suffered. Your choice. Hadn't divorced Dad, we'd be rich. You ruined that. You owe me for life. Stunned silence. Pain tore my chest. He had no idea. I divorced his father for him, to save him from abandonment, foster care. Every sacrifice, choice, tear was for his chance at life. Now he blamed me for destroying the future I protected. The ache deepened. Years of love felt like a cruel joke. Arthur wasn't my biological child. I adopted him, a frail, heart-defective baby, abandoned in a dumpster. My husband gave an ultimatum: send him back, or I leave. I chose Arthur. I worked multiple jobs, scraped every penny to save him. He recovered. I never told him the truth, fearing the burden. I wanted him to believe in kindness, but he grew into this cold, selfish, ungrateful stranger. Furious, yet relief flickered. Thank God I never mentioned the trust fund. 8 million. If they knew, the ugliness would be worse. My gaze turned icy. If you're this heartless, so be it. We're done. Nothing more to do with each other. I reached for my suitcase. Evelyn grabbed my arm. What? Your son? Responsible for his future? You can't walk away. Chloe echoed her. Irresponsible. I laughed, cold. Legally, a parent's obligation ends at 18. I supported Arthur into his 30s. What more? Arthur's face twisted. Not parenting. Your bad choices, your guilt. Every miserable thing is your fault. You owe me for life. Did you ask my permission to bring me into this world? He sounded deranged. I stared at him, a stranger. I must have been blind. If you have questions, ask your birth mother, the one who left you in a dumpster. He froze, confused, fury clinging. It didn't matter. He no longer concerned me. I shook off Evelyn's grip and walked out. Angry shouts followed. Disowning your son. Not human. Don't get proud, Ilara. When you're old, sick, nobody wants you. Where's that independence? No one will hire you. Don't crawl back. I paused, turned, faced them with cool detachment. Worry about yourselves. The house? My pennies bought it. If I take it back, you won't have a place. Chloe stormed to the door, finger pointing, seething. Don't touch this house. Registered in our names. Legally ours. No claim. Fine. My voice unwavering. Then hear this. I don't care if I spend the price of 2 houses. I will not let this house stay in the hands of ungrateful leeches. Chloe burst out mocking laughter. Lost your mind. 2 houses. You don't have $1,000. Washed up maid. Get lost. Deserve to rot on the street. She slammed the door. I didn't argue. Didn't flinch. Turned to the elevator. Pulled out my phone. Browsing luxury homes. A bitter smirk. If I didn't move into the best house, I'd disrespect the 8 million in my trust fund. That night, a 5-star hotel. I contacted Ms. Albright's attorney, initiating legal proceedings to reclaim everything mine. The coming days, luxury real estate. What kind of family would betray their own to such a degree, pushing a mother to the brink, only for her to hold the ultimate, devastating secret? The next days blurred into a defiant act of self-reclamation. I lived in that 5-star hotel, diving headfirst into the city's luxury real estate market. Property listings filled my screen, sleek villas and grand estates. Each viewing felt less like a search for a home, and more like an act of defiance, a quiet declaration of war against the life they'd tried to force on me. A week later, I had an appointment at the most prestigious gated villa community in town. The showroom buzzed with people, despite million-dollar starting prices. I stepped into the grand lobby, scanning the displays, when a young woman with a fresh, eager smile approached. Good afternoon, ma'am. May I walk you through the project details? Yes, please. Start with the model homes, I replied, following her. We'd barely moved when a sharp voice echoed across the room. Who's handling client screening? We just let anyone walk in now? I looked up. Chloe's niece, Eliza, strode towards us, heels clicking, eyes full of disdain. We'd met a few times. She always dripped arrogance. Margaret, what are you doing here? I glanced at her coolly, continuing to walk. To view a property. A problem? She blocked my path. a sneer on her face. A housekeeper? You think you can afford this? Don't tell me you're here for free coffee. I've seen plenty like you, pretending to be buyers just for snacks. People around us whispered, some nodding. The young assistant beside me spoke gently. Eliza, I can show this lady around. Eliza shoved her aside. Who are you to lecture me? She waved over 2 security guards. Escort this visitor out. The showroom fell silent, all eyes on us. I calmly raised my hand, stopping the guards. I came to view property. On what grounds are you kicking me out? Where's your manager? I want to speak with someone in charge. I turned to the crowd. You're all here for properties. Have I done anything inappropriate? The guards hesitated. Eliza scoffed. Go ahead, make a scene. Let's see your performance. Just then, a crisp voice cut through the tension. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Alex, the sales manager. An issue? Before I could speak, Eliza jumped in. Alex, she's here for freebies. I was having security remove her. Alex frowned. Ma'am, proof of financial verification? This is an invitation-only showcase. Without hesitation, I pulled out a folder. They already verified my documents at the entrance. Eliza snatched the folder, flipping it open dramatically. $5 million? Are you kidding me? She shouted, loud enough for half the showroom. She's a housekeeper. No way she has that money. This has to be fake. Alex's brow furrowed. I took out my phone, opened my banking app, and held it up. The young assistant leaned in. 100,000. Oh, my DM, over 8 million. Gasps rippled, eyes widened, no longer judging, now stunned. Someone whispered, D-man, she's got serious money. Eliza's face drained, cycling from red to pale green. Alex, that banking app has to be fake, she insisted. Chloe, that's enough, Alex said sharply. He turned to me, composed. Ma'am, my deepest apologies. A mistake on our part. I'll assign our most experienced manager. I waved a hand. No need. She's fine. Professional. I pointed to the young assistant. I want her to show me the property. Alex looked uneasy. She just started, in training. But I like her, I said firmly. I'm buying today, and I want it through her. Of course. Monica, take excellent care of our distinguished guest. Alex beamed. Eliza stood stiffly, lips twitching. She muttered, glorified errand maid, pretending she's somebody. I ignored her. I chose the largest villa model. Soaring ceilings, a spacious garden, a sunroom, fully furnished. I'll take this one. Let's get the paperwork started. Monica's eyes lit up. Ma'am, sure you don't want more options? No need. This is more than enough. She beamed. My first sale. You're my lucky charm. At the signing area, murmurs started. She signed without a second thought. 1,500K, didn't even blink. Money talks. Then, Eliza's voice, laced with venom. She's not your average housekeeper. No. She's one of those living assistants for wealthy old men, if you catch my drift. Not just dusting. I set down the contract. Monica, please get Alex again. I'd like to purchase another property. The room silenced. Monica's voice trembled. Another one? Right, I said calmly. One to live in, one as an investment. And I have a small favor for Alex. Alex returned, glowing. Ma'am, first purchase confirmed. Adding a second unit? But, I paused, my voice turning cold. I expect your team to address the inappropriate behavior of certain staff members. Alex's smile faded. His gaze landed on Eliza. Eliza, trouble again? Apologize now. She lifted her chin. Why? I told the truth. She was a housekeeper, one of those types who caters to rich old men. Her son said it. I lifted my head, staring directly at her. My son also once said your little portfolio came from nights in bed with clients. True? Eliza's face drained. Liar, slander. You just slandered me. Now you understand defamation? I turned to Alex. Eliza, that's enough. Security, escort her out. You're terminated. Eliza panicked. Alex, I wasn't lying. She was a cleaner. You violated conduct, Alex said firmly. Terminated immediately. Hold on. I stopped the guards. She defamed me publicly. Not letting this slide, I dialed. Hello, police? Report for defamation and public harassment. 10 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. After my account, they warned Eliza. Public apology, or I'd press charges. Cornered, shaking, Eliza mumbled, I'm sorry. She shot me and Monica a hateful glance, especially seeing Monica preparing the second sale. Monica, the quiet one, now the day's star closer. I signed both contracts, paid in full. Monica's eyes shimmered. Ma'am, I can't thank you enough. 3 months, no sales. Today, 2 units, my miracle. She insisted on arranging cleaning and moving prep. I accepted. For the first time in years, I felt truly light. Humiliation, resentment, swept away like dust. That evening, back at my hotel, my phone rang. Arthur, what the HL did you do to ruin Eliza's job? Her family's demanding answers. Fix this, I answered breezily. Let them come. Your problem. I told you we're done. I owe you nothing. Trouble? He raged. You stirred it. Expect us to deal with it? My blood boiled. Trouble. Eliza defamed me. The police were there. If this blows up, you won't walk away clean? Arthur went quiet. All right. Move on. By the way, who's your new employer? Loaded, huh? Treating you well? I laughed, silently. The scent of money. He was sniffing. Doesn't matter. Nothing to do with you. One more time, we're done. For good. I ended the call, blocking every number from him, Chloe, and their whole family. But I knew this wouldn't be the end. They would return, desperate for a slice of the life I now claimed, and I wondered, what twisted form would their greed take next? Arthur's desperation festered, refusing to be contained. The day I blocked his number, a massive bouquet arrived at my villa gate. I dragged the crushed petals inside, snapped a photo of them in the kitchen trash, and sent it to the gatehouse with instructions. Refuse anything from him. My message was clear. He never sent flowers again, but Arthur exchanged charm for theatrics. He began lurking outside the gated community daily. Rain or shine, work days or weekends, he'd be there. Every time my driver took me in or out, he'd put on a show, kneeling on the sidewalk, crying, wailing. Mum, please, don't be angry. I was wrong. His public displays were nauseating. I hired a full-time driver, ensuring my tinted windows remained up, gliding past him directly into my garage. No eye contact, no conversation, no chance for him to reach me. He kept it up for 2 full weeks. Then, he vanished. I thought the ordeal had finally ended. It hadn't. He'd simply changed tactics. He dug through old contacts, somehow reaching Richard, his adoptive father, a man I hadn't spoken to in over 20 years. That call, when it came, unveiled the true, insidious depth of Arthur's malice. Had you ever found yourself truly understanding the darkness lurking in someone you thought you knew, someone who would stop at nothing? The phone call from Richard was a chilling prelude to Arthur's next move. We hadn't spoken in over 20 years, yet his voice, surprisingly calm, cut through the quiet of my new villa. Just a heads up, Ilara, he began. Arthur came to see me, crying, begging me to talk you into coming home. I told him it wasn't my business. He paused, a dry chuckle. I reminded him I'm not his biological father. Even added that whatever mess you two have is between you. I'm an outsider. My breath hitched. My old promise to protect Arthur's truth. Had Richard broken it? But he insisted I was lying. Richard continued. Even showed up at my office, making a scene. Had no choice but to take a paternity test to shut him up. Didn't tell him the full truth, though. Kept my promise all these years. Didn't reveal his real background. So, bottom line, he knows I'm not his father. But you, Ilara, you're still his one and only mother. The line went dead. I hung up, bracing myself. I knew. It was only a matter of time before Arthur came knocking. When he did, I'd be ready. I'd tell him everything. The brutal truth he so desperately avoided. I'd tell him to go find the mother who abandoned him in a dumpster and stop trying to tear my life apart. But that confrontation never came. Instead, Arthur took a darker, more insidious turn. A turn I hadn't anticipated. Roughly a week later, I noticed something strange. The way people in my new neighborhood looked at me had shifted. Their glances lingered longer. Their smiles grew thinner, more forced. A subtle discomfort hung in the air. I brushed it off at first, dismissing it as new neighbors, unfamiliar faces, until Monica called me one afternoon. "Ilara," her voice was hesitant, laced with an unusual urgency. "I just wanted to say, I know you're a good person. Please don't let what people are saying upset you." My heart gave a jolt. "What are people saying, Monica?" That's when the truth hit me like a cold wave. I'd become an internet sensation, but not the good kind. Arthur had started live streaming daily on a popular social media platform. His channel title, "How My Mother Abandoned Me." I clicked on the link Monica sent, and the full, ugly picture exploded onto my screen. He hadn't outright accused me of being a mistress or anything scandalous. No, he'd gone for something far more sinister, more manipulative. He'd crafted a sob story, painting himself as the heartbroken, abandoned son, twisting me into the cold, ruthless, money-hungry villain. In his streams, his voice cracking with feigned emotion, he said things like, "My mother never really loved me. I worked so hard, studied so hard, and she wouldn't even support me in the smallest ways. The year I got into college, she left for another city to work as a live-in assistant for rich people, leaving me to live alone in a tiny rental apartment. When I got married, she didn't contribute a single dollar. Even when my wife got pregnant, she never offered a shred of help. Now that she's suddenly rich, she's cut me off completely, like I never existed. I don't even want money. I just want her to acknowledge me as her son. But she won't even say my name. She lives in a mansion now, rides in luxury cars, enjoys an upper-class life while I get judged and humiliated on the streets." The comments section exploded, a chaotic storm of opinions. People split into two camps. Some sympathized with him, pouring out their pity. Others called me heartless, a monster. And of course, there were the instigators, fanning the flames. A mother like that doesn't deserve to be called one. She should be ashamed. He's so pitiful. I'd do anything to give him the love he never had. His mother doesn't deserve happiness. His live stream blew up. His follower count skyrocketed, numbers climbing faster than a wildfire. He even started selling merchandise and products on his channel, riding the wave of pity donations from his so-called supporters. "We'll be the warmth your mother never gave you," one product blared. "You deserve better, sweet boy. She doesn't deserve happiness." And then things turned even uglier. The online mob began digging into my personal life. My name, my photo, my address, all of it started circulating in comment sections and reposts. I had officially become the face of a social media villain, the most heartless mother on the internet. It was a digital crucifixion, fueled by his lies. That evening, my phone rang again. This time, it was my lawyer. "Ilara, we can proceed with legal action right away," he stated, his voice firm. "We can file for removal of defamatory content, demand a public apology, and pursue compensation for damages." I paused for a few seconds, a calm smile spreading across my face. "No rush," I said, my voice steady, betraying none of the simmering fury within. "Let him perform a little longer. I plan to take this into my own hands first." I ended the call. Arthur had chosen to wage war in the digital world, to twist the narrative to his greedy ends. He had no idea I was about to expose his every DMN lie, not just to a few thousand viewers, but to the entire world. And the reckoning would be far more public and far more devastating than he could ever imagine. What lengths would you go to? Not just for justice, but to reclaim your very identity from a web of malicious lies. That same night, I launched my own live channel. I registered an account on StreamNet, naming my channel. So, this is the mom who abandoned Arthur. The title itself was a gauntlet thrown. I found Arthur's live stream, a pathetic performance where he sobbed, painting himself as the innocent victim. Without hesitation, I sent several thousand $DM in donations, enough to instantly grab attention and spike the live chat. Then, I typed a message, clear for everyone to see. Hi everyone, I'm the heartless mother Arthur's been talking about. He's been crying for weeks, saying I cut off his financial support. Come over to my channel. I'll show you the truth tonight. I'm giving away $100,000 in cash prizes. First come, first served. Within seconds, a tidal wave of viewers surged to my stream. Traffic spiked wildly. I started sending out the promised rewards. The comments exploded. Thank you, Sugar Mama. This is the real content queen. More loving than my own mom. Riding the wave of viral momentum, I officially began my live broadcast. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. I spoke straight into the camera, my voice clear and unwavering. First of all, yes, I did cut off financial ties with Arthur, but that doesn't make me heartless. And it certainly doesn't mean I abandoned him. People deserve the full story, I continued, my voice gaining strength. I didn't walk away because I stopped loving him. I walked away because his greed became unbearable. I paused, letting the words sink in. When I first received the inheritance from my late employer, my intention was to leave it all to Arthur and his wife. As I spoke, I displayed a scanned image of the official trust documents from Ms. Albright's attorney, a legally notarized statement showing I'd inherited over $8 million in assets. But do you know what their response was? I asked the stunned audience. Instead of gratitude, they accused me of wanting to freeload. They teamed up to throw me out of the house. They even suggested I move in with a random elderly man as his live-in assistant because, in their minds, my only value was continuing to work and funnel money into their household. To them, I wasn't a mother. I was a bank account. The comments blew up again. A dizzying blur of text. My GD, $8 million? What kind of employer does that? Finally, karma rewarding a good heart. This isn't cold. It's clarity. Of course, a few skeptics popped up. Still, you're his mother. Aren't you supposed to support your child? Cutting him off after marriage sounds pretty cold-blooded, I replied calmly, without blinking. Let me ask you this. Does supporting a child mean you're supposed to be their personal ATM forever? I raised him alone since he was 1 year old, paid his school fees, bought him a house. What did I get in return? Suspicion, rejection, disrespect, and being forced out of my own home. They wanted me to keep working like a machine to subsidize their lifestyle while treating me like a burden. Then I dropped the final devastating card, an audio recording. It was Arthur on the phone, trying to arrange for me to become a live-in assistant for an elderly man. The call had been captured by the elderly man's household security system. The proof was undeniable. The comments exploded again, faster than I could read. Unbelievable. This isn't just mooching, it's financial abuse. Cutting him off isn't cruelty, it's survival. This is what weaponized guilt looks like. He's not crying for love, he's crying for money. Good for you, Mom. That son deserved to be cut off. I knew this was only the beginning. Arthur didn't miss a mother. He missed his money supply. In this war for my truth, it had only just begun. What else would come to light when I peeled back the layers of lies? And how would the world react to a truth far more shocking than money? I looked at the flood of comments on the screen and let out a small, quiet laugh. They thought they knew. They thought his greed was the deepest cut. They were wrong. Leaning toward the camera, I spoke directly to the audience, my voice a calm, deadly whisper. The truth is, there was never any need to cut ties with Arthur. Instantly, question marks filled the comment feed. Why? What do you mean? I continued, my voice unwavering. Because Arthur was never my biological son to begin with. The digital air seemed to hum with shock. I watched as the comment section paused, then erupted in a fresh wave of disbelief. I let them sit with it for a moment, absorbing the first part of the bombshell. Then, I unspooled the rest. I adopted him when I was volunteering at a local orphanage, I explained, the words carrying the weight of a lifetime. He was just 1 year old then, born with a severe congenital heart defect and abandoned by his birth parents in a dumpster. He was barely clinging to life when I found him. My gaze softened, remembering that fragile, blue-tinged infant. I brought him home out of pure compassion. I spent every penny I had to get him medical care. I took a breath, the hardest part still to come. And my divorce from my ex-husband? That wasn't about infidelity or falling out of love. It was because he insisted on having a biological child and refused to continue raising Arthur. I was given a choice: send Arthur back to the orphanage or leave my marriage and raise him on my own. My eyes met the camera, unblinking. I chose Arthur. I gave up my marriage, gave up the chance to have my own children, just to give him a chance at life. As I spoke, I uploaded a series of images to the screen. Scanned copies of his official adoption certificate, faded hospital bills for his surgeries, medical invoices detailing years of treatment, school tuition receipts, even old public transit tickets from my commutes to double and triple shifts, fragments of a life spent giving, a lifetime of sacrifice captured in paper and ink. I worked overnight shifts, waited tables, cleaned homes, whatever it took. I continued. I scraped and saved until he was healthy again. I put him through college. I even bought him a house with my hard-earned money. And what did I get in return? He refused to let me live in that very house. He kicked me out like a stranger. Now he's slandering me online, claiming I abandoned him, even spreading rumors that I slept my way to wealth. My voice tightened. Tell me, how should I respond to someone like that? The comments section exploded. A torrent of fury, shock, and newfound sympathy filled the screen. He's vile. Who does that to a woman who saved his life? He used his adoptive mother like a sponge, then threw her away. Disgusting. Living in the house she paid for and still kicked her out? Unbelievable. GD gave him life. She gave him everything else. And he turned around and stabbed her in the back. The backlash was immediate. Viewers, many of whom had just come from Arthur's pity party stream, rushed back. His comment section was flooded with outrage. How could we ever support someone like you? Shame on you. You played the victim while bleeding your mother dry. You're the heartless one, not her. On Arthur's own live stream, his face turned visibly pale. Why are you all believing her? He shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. She's lying. If I wasn't her real son, why did she do all that for me? She's manipulating you. No one would go that far for a child that isn't theirs. He was unraveling, the carefully constructed facade crumbling before millions. Back on my stream, more viewers demanded hard proof. Without hesitation, I uploaded a scanned copy of the government-issued adoption record. This is the official document, verified, public, and authentic. The comments erupted once again. That's it. End of discussion. She's telling the truth. This isn't just betrayal, it's moral bankruptcy. He used her love, her money, her life, and still tried to destroy her. Report him. He doesn't deserve a platform. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Arthur doubled down, displaying a level of depravity that turned the internet's collective stomach. So what if I wasn't her real kid? He shrieked, his face contorted in a mask of pure ugliness. She didn't have to save me. I never asked her to. Maybe if she hadn't taken me in, I would have been adopted by a real family. She ruined my life. She never should have interfered with my fate. That was the final straw. The internet exploded. You're mad she saved you. That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. Let the whole world see this monster's true face. Report him now. In less than a day, public opinion flipped completely. Arthur went from abandoned victim to ungrateful parasite, feeding on his adoptive mother's blood. His streaming channel was permanently suspended by the platform that same night. My lawyer called me almost immediately. "Ilara," he said, a note of quiet satisfaction in his voice. "We can file a formal defamation and harassment lawsuit against him first thing tomorrow, demanding significant financial compensation for damages. We'll also file for an injunction to legally prohibit him from making any further defamatory statements or attacking you through social media platforms." I closed my laptop, the screen reflecting my calm, resolute face. The silence in the villa was profound, no longer empty, but filled with a quiet power. Arthur had truly exposed himself, and his downfall had been spectacular. But even with his public ruin, I knew the legal battles were just beginning, and I wondered, could a court of law truly mend the broken pieces of a heart? Or could it only deliver a justice measured in dollars and decrees? The court's gavel fell, a sharp, echoing sound that sealed Arthur's fate. The legal battle, though emotionally draining, had been swift and decisive. The judge found him guilty of violating cyber safety and defamation laws, a verdict that felt less like victory and more like an inevitable consequence. He was ordered to pay significant damages, cover all legal fees, and his streaming privileges were revoked. His social media accounts, once his platform for lies, were permanently banned. I was finally, utterly free. No longer any trace of Arthur in my digital life, and I hoped, in my real one. Another 6 months passed, a quiet, almost serene period in my new villa. I let the silence settle, letting the wounds of betrayal begin to scab over. Then, a meticulous legal process began, my attorney team working tirelessly to reclaim the house that had once been mine. The paperwork, the filings, the back and forth. It was slow, painstaking work. But one day, the call came. Everything was finalized. I stood in the living room, staring at the familiar curtains, watching sunlight spill across the hardwood floor. It was the same house, yet it felt different, cleansed. For the first time in years, I felt truly light, as if all the humiliation, resentment, and bitterness had been swept away like dust from these very floors. I felt I'd finally exhaled after holding my breath for decades. A few days later, a stark, unexpected piece of news arrived. Chloe, Arthur's wife, filed for divorce. She signed the papers in her lawyer's office with complete composure, I heard, not uttering a single extra word. It was clear she'd seen him for who he truly was. A man who whined about being wronged, but never took responsibility, full of resentment, but completely devoid of self-awareness. Just like that, Arthur vanished from my life entirely. I didn't ask about where he went, and I had no interest in looking back. Years passed, blurring into a peaceful rhythm. My garden thrived, my new routine brought a quiet joy. I learned to breathe again, fully. Then, one day, chatting with an old friend at a cafe, her voice casual, she mentioned it. "I heard Arthur ran off to Canada. He's always online, bragging about how free and easy life is over there." Curiosity, a faint ember I thought long extinguished, flickered. I searched his name online. What I found was haunting. The video footage was grainy, taken by a passerby. It showed him disheveled and hunched beside a trash bin on a street corner, gnawing on a piece of mouldy bread. His eyes were vacant, unfocused. Sometimes he'd break into a manic smile, a chilling, empty grin. Other times, he'd burst into uncontrollable sobs that tore through his whole body. He'd lost his mind. The same man who once stood in front of a camera, painting me as a villain, fishing for sympathy, selling sorrow for attention, had become exactly what he deserved to be. A ghost on the margins of real life. I felt no satisfaction. No anger either. Only a strange, quiet emptiness. He had simply become the sum of his own choices. No amount of followers could save him. No amount of lies could keep his story standing. He lost the sympathy he'd stolen. He ruined the integrity he never valued. And eventually, life did what it always does. It caught up. But as one chapter of pain closed, The real work of finding peace for my soul truly began. What does true peace look like after the storm? And can a heart ever fully heal from wounds left by those you once held closest? The morning light, filtered through blooming wisteria, cast gentle shadows across my sketchbook. The scent of dark roast coffee mingled with fresh earth from my thriving garden. This wasn't the opulent, silent grandness of the villa. This was something deeper, profoundly earned. The two villas, bought in rage, a defiant echo against their greed, served their purpose. Monuments to a battle, not sanctuaries for peace. When the housing market surged, I sold them, transforming that bitterness into a foundation for a tranquil new life. I found myself drawn to a quiet lakeside town on the western edge of the city. Stepping into the charming house, it was as if the walls themselves breathed a sigh of relief with me. Sunlight flooded every window, chasing away the ghosts of past shadows. My garden, a riot of wisteria and roses, bloomed in defiant cheer, a living testament to patience. The air here was pristine, tasting of pine and fresh water. The world moved at a deliberate pace, allowing unhurried breaths, quiet observation, the gentle hum of my own existence. My easel stood beneath an old oak, waiting for lazy afternoons when the urge to paint would softly surface. Sometimes I'd spend hours lost in the vibrant dance of mixing colors, letting the brush guide my hand, capturing the soft ripple of the lake or the fiery blush of a sunset. It wasn't about artistic perfection. It was about the profound, therapeutic process itself, the simple, unadulterated joy of creating something beautiful, entirely my own, from pigment, light, and the quiet whisper of my imagination. This was my canvas, my unwritten story, no longer dictated by anyone else's needs. No one called me Mom anymore, not in that demanding, draining way. No one accused me of being cold or cruelly claimed I hadn't done enough. For the first time, I could truly hear my own breath, feel the steady beat of my own heart in the soft melody played on my piano, in the sun's warmth as I tended roses. For the first time, I finally and unequivocally belonged to myself. The old burdens, the profound sacrifices, the decades of silent, teeth-gritting endurance, they had indeed etched deeper lines on my face. Yes, but more importantly, they had forged an unyielding inner strength, a quiet, formidable resolve that I now wore like an invisible shield. I often found my mind drifting back to Evelyn's sneering words in the showroom, to Chloe's vicious, mocking laughter as she slammed the door, proclaiming I deserved to rot on the street. The irony was a soft, bittersweet chuckle from deep within my chest. They, utterly consumed by boundless entitlement and short-sighted greed, could never have imagined this serene, fulfilling existence. They were too busy grasping at empty shadows to truly see the enduring substance of a life reclaimed. Arthur, a ghost gnawing on mouldy bread, was the stark, horrifying culmination of their shared moral bankruptcy. He was a cautionary tale, a permanent record etched onto the internet, not by my hand, but by his own monstrous choices. I felt no anger, not a flicker of old rage, only profound pity for the emptiness that consumed him. He had chosen his path, and it had led him directly to a desolate, solitary place, tragically far from true human connection. Sometimes a kind neighbour, sensing the history in my eyes, would gently ask about my past. "Do you regret adopting Ethan?" they'd inquire, voices soft, wary of touching an open wound. I used to think long about that question. The immense weight of those decades, the emotional toll, the profound sting of shattering betrayals. But now, when I heard it, I just smiled softly, a genuine, unforced curve of my lips, and shook my head, feeling a liberating sense of peace. No, I'd say, my voice steady, imbued with the hard-won wisdom of years. I don't regret it. Not anymore. I only regret not understanding sooner that kindness should never be practiced at the devastating cost of self-destruction. Learning to protect myself, to finally set firm, unwavering boundaries, to unequivocally value my own inherent worth above their insatiable, endless demands. That, my friends, was the single most important lesson I ever learned in the transformative second half of my life. I'd often sit by the lake in quiet evenings, watching the sun dip slowly, painting the sky in fiery hues. The water would reflect the light, shimmering with 1,000 tiny diamonds, each a testament to resilience, to the quiet power of simply being. I had my flaws, my doubts, my deeply etched scars that served as reminders of where I'd been. But through it all, I became something far better, a woman who finally lived for herself. And it turned out that it wasn't too late at all. It was, in fact, the perfect time to begin. My friends, if you've ever felt undervalued, dismissed, or pushed to the side by those you loved, remember this profound truth. Your worth is not defined by what others take from you, but by what you choose, bravely and defiantly, to reclaim for yourself. What's the most important lesson you've learned about self-worth and setting boundaries in your own life? Share your powerful stories and insights in the comments below. Your voice is incredibly important to our community. And if this story of resilience and transformation resonated deeply with you, please consider subscribing to our channel for more compelling tales of finding your true power.